Hi there! In this screencast we are going to talk how to manually add rules to iptables to make not work for private ranges. We use as a starting point the default isolated network. So what is our objective? We will add rules for the 10, 172, 192 private ranges so that these are knotted towards the internet. Okay, so what do we need to do? We need to manually configure filter and not tables, and we verify if it is working. Furthermore, we also need to switch on routing on the host. So basically that's switching on a kernel parameter IP forward. Just to give an indication what we actually want to accomplish. Well, here we have our router. Over here we have our host system. And on the host system we have created a virtual network, which is the default network, and we have created a private range network which is called green_p1, and connected to this private range network there's a system called du1sp1. From this system we want to be able to reach the internet. So the routing needs to be configured like this. We start a ping to www.google.nl, and it will travel through this router, through the default network, and it will be routed by the host and then knotted via some home networks towards the internet. The returning traffic will go this way to this DUN-SP1 system. The first step is to activate the isolated default network. Let's examine what it looks like. Well, here we have the network definition. It's going to create an IP address on the virtual bridge interface, and it's also going to activate the virtual bridge interface. Here we have 3 static root rules, so if the default network is activated, these static roots will be added to the host. In order to create this isolated network, we first destroy the current default network. It's done with this to command. With this command we demonstrate that we don't have any static roots configured on the host. Now let's define the new default network based upon the XML definition that we just saw. And now let's see if we have the static roots. And yes, we have 3 static roots. Basically all traffic going through private ranges is routed via this IP address. This is the name, this is the IP address of our DUN SR1 router. Since we removed the default network and created it again, the DUN SR1 router has been unplugged from this network switch, and we need to plug it in again. We do so by first detaching its interface and then attaching it again. It's done by these 2 commands. Okay, at this point we have our router connected again to the default network. We can verify that by pinging for it, and as you can see it works. In a former screencast we have seen that if we use libvirt to add a network with forward mode not, that we will receive these 5 extra rules. Of these 5 rules, the lower 3 rules are actually also added by an isolated network. So in the filter table, these 2 extra rules are added when we configure a knotted network. The other 3 are already added also by the isolated network. So if we want to create a knotted network from an isolated network, we would have to add the first 2 rules, and these are the iptables command to do so. At this point we are not going to add these rules, because these rules only add a class C network that is in the range of the IP address that we configured. Furthermore, we also have seen from the former screencast that when we add the knotted network in the post routing chain of the not table, these 5 rules are added. So basically we take this as a template to add more rules, but we are going to use them on the private ranges. So the commands to add these rules would be these 5 commands. Okay, so this we take as a template, and then we were gonna add them to iptables. There's yet another thing that is done by libvirt when we add a knotted network, and that is routing is switched on by libvirt. So we also have to do that manually. Let's do that on the host system. We're going to switch on IP forwarding, and we will do that in this file. We'll make sure that the SL Linux context is correct. And now we are going to activate this setting. We can verify that by looking up proxys net IP version 4 IP forward, and it's switched on. Okay, next we are going to use the example of libvirt, but we are not going to use it on the single class C network, but we are going to use it on the 3 private ranges. So these are the 3 private ranges. Let's add the filter rules and the 5 not rules. Oops. We need to do it on the other terminal. So let's add them. And then for the next set. And then also for the last set. Okay, so now we have added all the rules to iptables. Let's verify if we recognize the rules, and we create 2 files that we are gonna examine. And the first one, we see indeed the 2 rules per private range. So we got 10, 172 and 192. Let's examine the post routing chain of the not table, and here we have 5 per private range, 2 for the return target and 3 for the masquerade target. And we got over here the other 2 sets of 5 rules. So it all seems to be okay. Of course, now we want to make sure that it actually works. So let's SSH to a system that is behind our router DON SR1, located in the private range network in the 10.1.0.11. Because of the static routes from the host, we can reach this system, and now on this system we want to verify if we can indeed ping a system on the internet. Well, Google is friendly enough to allow ping on www.google.nl, and as you can see, we can actually ping that system. So now manually we have created the filter rules in iptables, and we have created the not rules in iptables to make sure that our isolated network now is also knotted, and it's not only knotted for its own range but also for all the private ranges. Okay, this is it for this screencast. Okay, just to recap, what did we do in the screencast? We used an isolated default network as a starting point, and manually we added per private range 2 filter rules and 5 not rules to iptables to make sure that it is rooted and that it is knotted. Furthermore, we also configured rooting in the kernel on the host system by switching on IP forward for IP version 4. Okay, hopefully you enjoyed this video. In the next video we are going to demonstrate how you can configure exactly the same thing, but this time automatically via something called network hooks on libvirt. Okay, the links that we have used in the screencast are below in the description, and the commands that we have used are also below in the description. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and you can subscribe to my channel to see more videos about Linux.